Right. Well, it looks like we've got a good amount of people here, so we can go ahead and get started. Awesome. Yeah, so thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Enabling Google Voice Simply and Securely. My name is Daphne Shears. I'm a sales development rep here at Wursta. And with me today is Rachel Stevens, change management specialist here at Wursta. Like we said, this meeting is being recorded and all registrants will get a link to view it later this week. We do ask that you stay on mute because there's a nice amount of people in here. And anytime you can submit questions using the Meet chat and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. In addition to that, we'll be using the polls feature, so you can access polls using the shapes and or activities icon in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And then does everyone have their coffee gift card? If you did not receive it, please email Emily@wursta.com or you can drop your email in the chat. We want to make sure that everyone's caffeinated and ready to go. And then in addition to that, we're going to drop our LinkedIn links in the chat as well. So please feel free to connect with us there. Awesome. In case you didn't know already, this event is being hosted by Wursta. Our mission is to help organizations maximize their use of the cloud to compete in a modern world. We work side by side with people to help them make good technology decisions that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. This helps organizations develop cultures of continuous innovation powered by real-time collaboration. With that, I will turn it over to you, Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daphne, for that intro. Obviously, I'm just as happy to be here as everyone else. And obviously, I love to kind of give you a quick overview of Google Voice. So let's just think about this too with Google Voice. I'm thinking with Daphne, you're actually using Google Voice quite a bit in your role here at Wursta, isn't that right?
Yeah, definitely. As an SDR and a member of the sales organization at Wursta, I'm on the phone quite a bit. Before this webinar, I thought of myself as like this Google Voice super user. But since preparing this presentation with you, I've learned so much more. There's so many capabilities that Google Voice can do.
Absolutely. Honestly, I feel the same way. I feel like I learn something new every day when kind of exploring the Google Voice system. Really, there's just so much power behind Google Voice. When I first heard of this, I thought it was just a simple telephone system. I mean, bare basics, but of course, with anything Google, there's so much more power behind it. And really just quickly here, I thought it'd be nice to talk about some of the Google's enterprise voice cloud phone offerings. Obviously, first off, it's super easy to stay connected. I know me as a worker, I have the choice to use the Google Voice app. I can use it directly from my laptop, or you can even use desktops if some people are working in the office. With Google Voice too, it's not that hard to dial out. You don't have to hit any certain extensions. We can just literally make a call like we would normally and be able to make those calls less work. Also, just a little side note too, with anything Google, of course, and specifically with Google Voice too, we are using artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms going on. And so you know that the more time you spend inside of here, the more it's going to learn and work for you. So that's definitely one of the great tools and features about Google Voice as well. The last thing that I was just wanted to leave you with too is the fact that companies, they can manage their employees' phones, the Google Voice numbers. So that's definitely a helpful tool as well. And then, of course, the one feature that is incredibly important to me and helpful is the fact that as a teammates, we can all stay connected pretty easily, not only with our own coworkers, but pretty much with our clients from anywhere at any time.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. I'm one of those Google Voice users, and I work from home most days, but I'm still able to be productive and efficient outside of the office on my personal device.
Absolutely. Same here. I'm mainly remote, but it's nice to have those features. I'm actually curious about from the rest of the people on this call today, how many of you are working full-time remote? How many of you are hybrid work? Just feel free to answer our little poll that we just launched here. It's kind of fun seeing all the answers coming in and seeing that little bar race across. Interesting. getting actually a lot of hybrid polls so far. Figured that's definitely going to be the more common answer. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. Going back into the workplace, at least being able to work remotely some days, and then going into the workplace on other days.
Yeah, definitely. We'll give it about another minute. See if we can get some more results here.
Mm-hmm. Well, looks like we're tied.
Yeah, very cool. Well, yeah, it looks like pretty much tied up for working remote and working both in the office and at home, or not in the office. That's awesome. So with Google Voice, it really doesn't matter where you work, if you're in the office or working from another location or from home.
Absolutely. And just to kind of add on to that too, if your company for some reason doesn't give you a work device, mobile device to take home with you, this is what's great about Google Voice, is the fact that we can actually set up the Google Voice app on our personal cell phone and still have the ability to keep our personal life separate from our work life. So definitely love that feature as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Rachel, but I'm actually feeling a little left out over here. I actually don't have a Google Voice phone number. So do you think that's something you could set up for me right now?
Oh my goodness. I can't believe the Ashley Lewis does not have a Google Voice number yet.
They forgot about me.
Bad day. All right, this is an easy fix, and actually this is going to work out perfectly because we can demo and show users how easy it is to set up and then how easy it is to use too. So this is going to be perfect. Look at this. I actually had your account already pulled up, Ashley. So showing you what it looks like from the admin side. Will be in the end user's account if we're trying to assign a license just for one individual. I will show you how to do a batch assignment here shortly, but Ashley, I'm going to go ahead in here licenses and literally just turn on Google Voice Premier. And just like that, you have a Google Voice license. So super easy, love it. But we do still need to at least give you a number because, you know, have a Google Voice license, but we do need to set up a number. So this is actually where we go to the Google Voice settings itself, and we'll be in the users section. So Ashley, like I said, we have you assigned, but obviously we still need to give you a number. And then before we do that, just a quick side note too, if you are going to be like, let's say, assigning a whole team, it's super easy just to do a batch assign from here. And that way you can upload not just individually each at a time, but let's go here to the little edit icon. And obviously, Ashley, you're going to be dialing at from the US. We need to do a service address. It really doesn't have to be anything specific. We'll just do one of our work addresses. But I feel like, Ashley, you're special. I think we need to choose which number you want assigned. Do you agree? Think we should get a different assigned number for you?
Of course.
All right. Where do you usually make most calls to? We can kind of narrow it down from there.
Yeah, so kind of all over the place, but I would say a good amount of them are in the Chicago area.
Ooh, okay. So this is what's really neat about Google Voice too. I can actually narrow down where I want the area code to be based out of. So I'm just going to simply type in the Chicago city. Now, just a little watch point here too. We can actually give you just one of any of these numbers listed, but you notice that the very first one actually has like an acquired name by that. What that means is that this was actually previously assigned here at Wursta. And so for me personally, as best practice, I like to give my teammates one number if that's possible, just in case, like let's say we have a past client that still has this 312 number saved. Instead of them calling and it be like a random Pizza Hut number, Ashley, you can answer it and help direct them in the right direction at least. So do you like the 312-715 number? Sounds good, right?
Perfect. Good for me.
Look at that. So literally just hit assign. And now, Ashley, you have officially a Google Voice number. Super easy and love that. Yay. So you should get an email notification to help with that. And then let's talk about a couple other options too, because I'm thinking, Ashley, with your help, you're actually going to help me out with some of the ring groups I have assigned. So really quick question. I have this marketing group already created. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with what a ring group is, it's basically, like I said, our team's phone number. If a customer calls this 415 number, one of us will be able to answer it. So actually, really quickly, you see how easy it is. I'm going to add you in here. Now you can actually help me answer these calls. Going to make both of our work days much easier. So I just typed in your name and hit save. But now I'm going to get your opinion on how we should have this call routing set up. So we have a couple of choices on the ring order, which I kind of like about Google. Like we can customize this and make it work what's going to be best for us. So we have a round robin. So that means sometimes it goes directly to me, other times it goes to you first, and vice versa. If I don't answer it, then it'll go directly to you. We can do a fixed order. So then that means, let's say we always set it up to where it always goes to me first, and then if I don't answer, then it goes to you. Or we have the simultaneous options, which mean both of our phones are going to ring at the same time, and we just kind of see who picks up first can answer that call. Do you have an opinion on how we should set this up?
I'm kind of a fan of competition, so I'm thinking maybe the simultaneous option.
All right, I like that. I will say you got to start keeping tally though. Who's going to answer first? All right.
I got this.
Total ringing duration. So best practice, always just set it up to 30 seconds. Obviously, we don't want anyone on the call sitting there for 2 minutes waiting for someone to pick up. So we have this total ringing duration. We're going to exit out of here. And now just one last configuration we need to decide on as what happens if neither one of us answers after that 30-second ringing period. You obviously can have a couple of different choices here, but obviously best practice, we're just going to go ahead and send it to voicemail instead. So I select voicemail. We can either upload our own audio, which is a really neat feature, or we can use text to speech. So this is where we can type out like, hey, sorry we missed your call. Add more information here. But what's really cool about the text to speech too, I feel like Google's always improving their features. And if I hit the play button, you should be able to hear just how non-robotic it sounds. So let's preview.
Sorry, we missed your call.
If you heard that pretty clearly, it doesn't sound super technical, super robotic. It sounds actually pretty realistic. So definitely one of those really neat features. And you see here, we can even choose the different types of languages and the voice types. So once again, have all the different types of choices on what we want to use. Okay. All right, so set up a ring group. Ashley, I feel like we're all set there. I have one more place I want to add you to, and I'm going to kind of get your opinion on this as well. We're going to do an AutoAttendant setup. So once again, if those of you who aren't familiar with AutoAttendants, it's really just if you've ever called a doctor's office and it says, hey, press 1 to speak to Dr. So-and-so and press 2 to speak to marketing and sales. This is how we set it up in Google Voice. So Ashley, now that you're a part of the marketing team, I think we actually can expand our Chicago office menu to have the marketing ring group added. So really simple, we see we already have one created in here. I'm just going to go here and make a couple of edits. So first off, when you ever creating a new one, we do need to have a welcome message. So we have a little message here asking people to continue listening because the menu has changed. We can add special announcements. So this can be helpful if it's just a quick like, hey, Memorial Day is coming up, we're going to be closed. You can have an announcement here that they can't skip through before going through the menu. But yeah, so Ashley, we have sales, we have support. I think the Chicago office, especially if you have that number, we can go ahead and start supporting their office by doing a marketing menu option. Does that sound like a good idea?
That sounds great, Rachel.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Text to speech again, keeping it easy and consistent. We're going to say, hey, press 3 for marketing. And then we just have to decide an action. So you have, once again, plenty of choices here. But for this setup, let's go ahead and transfer the caller to our ring group. So we could do it transfer directly to a user, but since we're going to do a little friendly competition, let's do the ring group marketing. So after that, transfer type ring group, and then last but not least, we'll set up marketing. So there we go. All I have to do is hit done, making sure I like all of these changes, and then of course, do a publish once we're finished with setting this up. Yay. All right, it's always going to give you a publish changing, confirming that's what you want to do. And just like that, super easy. We now will be getting calls if someone's trying to get a hold of the Chicago office. So I love that feature. Definitely a really neat feature. Okay. So besides the ring group and auto attendants, the really last thing that I thought would be neat to show you, Ashley, especially since you're going to start getting used to Google Voice, is just to show you kind of what it looks like really quickly. So I have this voice calls tab pulled up here. What's really interesting about this too, like I said, I have it downloaded on my app, but when I'm working, I actually have this voice tab pulled open all the time. As you see, it looks like just a classic phone menu. So I see any calls that have been made or missed. Any messages can be living in here too. And another cool feature is the voicemail feature. So we can, of course, listen to the voicemail, but you will see that we can even see a text description, closed caption of if someone left us a message, what they were saying. But then last thing to show you is just how easy it is to make calls. So I'm going to make it directly from my line, but I do have that marketing number linked here too. And then, of course, you can always type in the number, or because it's linked to our Google account, I can actually type in some of my colleagues' names. So I'm going to actually call my friend Marvin over here.
I could not complete your
Oops.
call.
Let's try the other Marvin. I bet that's his old number. But so we have this ability to just demo, have a classic ring, and so it just works pretty much seamlessly across the workspace. So love showing that feature. Definitely one of my favorite tools, especially like I said, working on my laptop. I can access Google Voice from anywhere. All right, so I'm going to go back into our presentation and just kind of start wrapping it up with the time that we have left here. So what I wanted to just kind of leave you with before I hand it back over to Daphne is really just reminding of what we all have to offer. So obviously, if you go with us, we have some licensing discounts for our customers. This is definitely something you can talk in more depth about. Me, as a change management specialist, I'm all about providing extra support, resources, training. So this is definitely some of those extra features you get when you go through Wursta. We have a couple of other line items here too, but the last one that I do just want to point out to me that I find super helpful is the fact that we have a lot more insight into the voice road mapping system. So think of this, Google is always working to try to improve their services, giving us new updates. When you go here with Wursta, we can provide some further insight into what to expect to be rolling out. So specifically, if Google Voice is going to send out new updates, you'll be able to get that information set here. Okay. And then the last thing to leave you with is me personally, I kind of feel like I have a better understanding of how certain products work, especially if I hear a real-time example. So I actually thought it'd be nice to share you one of the previous projects that I've recently worked on. And I worked with a company based out of New York who is going back into the office. So they were actually setting up 45 physical desktop phones. So even though I'm all the way here in Florida, I was able to pretty much help out with the assigning of Google Voice numbers for them from here as they were continuing to work on site installing those physical phones. So like I said, one of those really neat features, hopefully driving home the fact of how user-friendly it is, how you can do it pretty much from anywhere, and how it's a seamless interface. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Daphne just to kind of start wrapping up this training session. Daphne, I think you might be on mute.
No worries. Overall, that I know all those features are super helpful in the workplace. So yeah, just to recap what we went over today, were those features like enabling Google Voice, those voice settings, how to manage those licenses and add users, and then as well as those ring groups and auto attendant features that Google Voice has.
Absolutely.
So before we get into questions, we've got our upcoming event schedule here. We'll put the link for our upcoming event and our past events on demand in the chat, so you can watch those at your leisure. We do have a Google Voice offering for all registrants. So your Wursta rep will be reaching out to schedule a quick call to go over all those details. And as always, we'd love your feedback. So there's a link in the chat, and you'll receive a follow-up email with a short survey to tell us what you thought of today's discussion.
Cool. So I guess with that, we can actually open it up to questions from everyone that's attending here so far. Maybe we can kind of collaborate. Feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat box.